Hi everyone, I'm Courtney and welcome back to another vlog. So today is March 1st, so happy Women's History Month, happy almost spring. For me, happy start of Whole30. It's the plant-based Whole30 where I attended a Zoom webinar yesterday where they were explaining kind of like the rules and everything, and I've done Whole30 in the past, but this is specifically plant-based, and I appreciate that since I'm vegetarian slash pescatarian, and it was a little bit challenging to do the original program in that kind of way, so I'm thankful that they have that ready to go. And then happy, what else? Hopefully there's some positive things there. Well, I didn't pick the happiest book to kind of distract me or to have me be in a good mindset, but hoping to alternate that with some other books that I'll be reading. But this vlog is all about A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. So this is my March, not the whole month, but at least the next few weeks, I will be dedicating a reading vlog to this. I'm doing a buddy read with my friend Erin on Instagram, and feel free if you have thoughts about this as I'm reading it. I'll try to do as many updates. Well, this will be past that point, but as I'm reading it, I will have had updates on Instagram, so yeah, make sure you were watching that, or if you have further thoughts, feel free to engage that way or through the comments below as I continue through this book. So I've heard many things about this. It's won the Man Booker Prize, or it was a finalist for that. It won the National Book Award, or was a finalist for that as well. And yeah, I've heard that it is emotional. There's so many content warnings. So if that is something you want to be aware of, I suggest looking those up ahead of time. When it comes to doing my reading vlogs, there probably will be spoilers. So if you want to wait to read the book or watch this now, whatever makes you comfortable, I guess, when it comes to the content that I'll be sharing about what I think about the book, different quotes, different plots, characters, things like that, I will be talking about. So that is your warning for that as well. I will not be rushing through this. Like, it is a thicker book. How many pages is it? It is over 800 pages. So this is just as long as Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone by Diana Gabaldon. That I finished in a week, but that I think there were still intense content in that book, but from what I'm expecting of this, there's going to be a lot more, and I don't want to like savor it, but I don't want to rush through it either. I just want to take time to pause, reflect, and be in a good mental space. I plan to take some baths to relax, not while reading this, but in between reading this. And then I have a couple of ebooks that I'll be reading in between chapters or things that might be upsetting. I feel like I'm setting the bar so high for like emotional like weight. And I don't know, like I was just talking to my boss and she was saying that if you're not somebody that usually cries, which I don't usually cry at books, I do sometimes with like TV shows and sometimes movies, but it's not like bawling, it's like a few tears here and there. So I'm like, will I be that visibly emotional? Probably not, but probably mentally emotional, maybe. So yeah, I'm trying to prepare my mind as much as possible, and you all, for what is to come. Anyway, let's read the synopsis so we know kind of what we're getting ourselves into. A Little Life follows four college classmates, broke adrift and buoyed only by their friendship and ambition, as they move to New York in search of fame and fortune. While the relationships, which are tinged by addiction, success, and pride, deepen over the decades, the men are held together by their devotion to the brilliant, enigmatic Jude, a man scarred by an unspeakable childhood trauma. A hymn to brotherly bonds and a masterful depiction of love in the 21st century, Hanya Yanagihara's stunning novel is about the families we are born into and those that we make for ourselves. Okay, that sounds like incredible just from the synopsis there. Sounds like something that I would enjoy in terms of like the relationship building, the bonding, the strengthening of those types of platonic relationships. It's interesting since I was just finishing Loveless by Alice Oseman, and that was about this young woman, Georgia, who was learning more about her identity as an asexual, aromantic person, and how a lot of her love goes into friendships and those kind of relationships instead of a romantic love, because that's not what she wants. That's not what she loves love, but in that kind of regard, not for like the physical intimate kind of love, but the emotional connection kind of love that she finds with her friends and her family members. So I've dug deeper into those kind of relationships because I think that's just as powerful as a romantic one and just as important. So I think that'll be good to see this in a group of guys that have been together for a while and have seen each other through like very dark times, but also very, I'm hoping, like celebratory times as well. So that I think will be good. And yeah, so I think I've already gone over how I've done my vlogs. I haven't done a full-on reading vlog in a while. I used to do them once a month last year, and then I started reading a book that I was just not feeling and then just didn't finish it for the rest of the year. I don't think this will be a consistent recurring thing, but because I'm doing a buddy read, I think this will be a good way for me to pause and reflect in between what I'm reading, like I'd mentioned before, and be able to talk to somebody about it throughout, not just to you all, but to talk to Erin through Instagram in our like buddy chat. So, or our buddy read chat. And yeah, I will pause and give you my thoughts as I'm going through them. I will have some B-roll of me doing things that I normally do throughout my days, like eating, shots of me reading, working potentially, maybe going to the gym. I don't know yet. I have a few things I need to do in the next couple of weeks before I go to London that I need to take care of. But I will be dedicating most of this vlog to the actual reading and sharing my thoughts. So the goal, time-wise, is to finish this in 2 weeks. If it's shorter than that, that's fine. I'm not going into this trying to rush through it. I do have, let me tell you about the other books I'm reading. So I'm reading Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, and this I should be done pretty quickly. I'm about a quarter of the way through. It's only like 100 pages, and it's about this family in Ireland, and it's around Christmas time, and just reflecting on, the main character Bill is reflecting on like the small moments in life. And I think that's such a good message when there's all this other hectic craziness going on. What are things that like are so like right now in the moment that maybe you don't think about later in life, but they're so important in that moment, even though they're so small. So that I think is a really fun message to share and to think about how there's so much going on in the world. What are some small things that are wins for us that we can hold on to that might help us in the future going forward. So I'm reading that, and then I'm going to be reading The Reading List. So both of those books were recommended to me for the 12 books, 12 friends challenge I had posted about, or a lot of people had posted about before 2022 started, and you just had 12 random people or anybody recommend a book, and you just read that book throughout the year, or those 12 books. So I guess the idea was to read one a month, but I'm already on, I think, 5 or 6 of that list, and those are 2 right there. So I have that, and then I have some other ones that are part of my March TBR that I might be balancing in there as well. So yes, that is the plan. That is the intro to this video. Oh, I guess I'll also tell you about my Whole30 journey, since that'll be what I'll be going through. So if you're not familiar with it, it's just a way to eliminate like processed foods to see what your body reacts to in a way that might make it like uncomfortable, not necessarily like allergic reactions, but how all of our bodies process food differently. And if it's processed food, then that is another layer to how our body reacts. So for plant-based, I wrote down all the things that I can and can't have, but mostly it's cutting out like grains, alcohol, dairy, meats, poultry, seafood, and really focusing on plant-based things like nuts, beans, plant-based proteins, plant-based meats, like the, not Beyond Meat, I don't think I can use, but things like that are like imitation meats in a way that I can still get my protein and all that good stuff in. So yes, it'll be exciting. Some of the benefits include like better sleep, which I've been struggling so much with. I've been getting up the last few mornings to go to the gym, and it is kind of tiring, but I'm hoping that my body will just feel better every single morning when I get up to do that. And then just feeling better. Like, yes, like physically my body will change, but just that feeling of not being at peace with your body, but there's just a feeling I get when I've done this in the past where I physically feel better. And that's something I'm looking forward to. And this will be leading up to when I go to London, so that'll be fun. So I can like reintroduce those things that I cut out back when I'm in London. So yeah, that is all I have. About a 10-minute intro. Yay! Welcome again, and I hope you're having a great day whenever you're watching this. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and let's do this. I thought I'd do a quick update since I haven't done much of an update for A Little Life. I am on page 154, so like a quarter of the way through, and it's already Sunday, March 6th. So a few days missed in there for updating because I did have a cold the last few days and like could barely concentrate. I listened to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts and like tried just to walk and get like some fresh air going, and going to bed early with all my cold medicine and all that. So yes, it's an excuse, but also like I wanted to be able to focus because this is going to get pretty heavy and comprehensive with a lot of heavier topics. So with that being said, I am getting into more of that. I feel it was very confusing the first few pages, maybe first 30 pages, because there's 4 different characters. There's Willem, Jude, JB, and Malcolm, and they are 4 friends from college or from younger years, and it kind of like jumps back and forth between them as young adults to them in college to them post-college as like 30-year-olds-ish. So we're learning a little bit about each of them and their paths, but one particular, Jude, he is pretty much the mystery, and I don't know if we're going to focus mainly on him throughout the whole book, but it feels like it's diving a lot into that. Like even the other 3 guys' experiences are involve Jude somehow, or like learning more about him or finding him in situations that are challenging. So Jude, I think, is the one that has the most of a like dangerous of a past, I guess, in terms of at least mental health and something, maybe I feel like it was some kind of like sexual abuse. I'm thinking right now that that's what it's going to be because of some of his actions so far. He also has some like pain in his body or his spine or his leg that makes it hard for him sometimes to walk or to function, and he's just in so much pain. He wears long sleeves all the time, so there's some cuts on his arm, and Willem, I think, has taken him to the hospital a few times, but is like not able to like say like, hey, I think you need help, or like to really dive into that, which I feel like can be a really hard thing to do to one of your friends that you care about and you want to see them be well, but you also want to like trust them at the same time, or it's just a really sticky situation. So we're learning about that. And then Hanya Yanagihara is really diving into like their identities and how that's affecting them too. So Jude, we're not really sure his ethnic or racial background. It's like mentioned a few times that like people don't know where he's from or who he is in that kind of regard. And then Malcolm, I think, is biracial. And then JB, I think, is black, and Willem is, I think he's like European American. Like his parents are both Swedish and somewhere else, Norwegian? I can't remember, but interesting group of identities put together, and they're pretty close, but obviously there's some secrets withheld that we're slowly unfolding and seeing what that's all about. So that's kind of where I'm at. I hoped I'd be a little bit further along at this point, but like I mentioned at the start of this video, there really isn't a rush. Before the end of March would be great, and I think I could probably finish it in the next week and a half or so, depending on how much more I can read today. I do have to edit a February recap video and then make some dinner and all that good stuff. But yeah, so far it took a little bit to get into, but now that we're diving more into the backstories of the characters, it's a little bit more intriguing, and like all these theories and thoughts are going on in my mind of what mainly Jude's past is and how the 3 other gentlemen not necessarily influence that, or like what that looks like as they began to become friends and what that means in the future and even the present as we're learning more about their lives together. So yeah, that is the update there. I will try to do better with updating you more. I mean, like, it's only 100 pages out of 800, so it's not too terrible that I haven't updated yet, but when more and more things are unveiled or revealed, I will do my best to let you know what I think and have some reactions there. So yay, on to some reading. Well, happy Wednesday. So a little bit more progress. That's almost page 300, so almost halfway, and some more things have happened. So, oh, Jude. I feel like we're slowly learning more about his past, but like not really at the same time. It was so beautiful. He just got adopted as a man. He's like in his 30s, and like one of his former professors that he's like grown really really close to, and his wife, they had lost their son many years ago, and they've just like taken Jude in ever since he was in college or law school, and have just like treated him as their own. So they adopted him, and it was so beautiful, but also very scary for Jude, since he's gone through this whole life of rejection and just like worrying for the other shoe to drop. And he ended up like cutting himself more and like losing a lot of weight, and just so much anxiety around the day that not that they get sworn in, but like they make it official and go to the judge and everything. So oh man, that was pretty rough. And then there's this other part right now. I think we're in part 3, I believe. I think that's where it is, where I thought like, oh, we're going to transition into another character or one of the other 4. And they started with Willem a little bit, but then it talked a little bit about how Jude, he used a wheelchair for a while since his wound was like not doing great, and him moving around other places and getting to work and getting to his old apartment was not ideal. And then his elevator broke, and he like climbed up the stairs with his wheelchair. It took him like hours and hours, and just like drained him. And it was, oh my gosh, it was so hard to read that. Yeah, I'm trying to think. We've seen more with the other characters, but it's always in relation to Jude, or it always comes back to Jude. I know that like he has like a very challenging past, and we'll probably get more into that, but I'm wondering how the other 3 kind of play into it. So yeah, it's picking up some more. I'm worried that the like super super sad and very challenging to read parts are coming soon. There was a part after part 2 ended, that's when like the adoption went through, and he was like doing better and like feeling good and like blessed and everything. And there was some kind of foreshadowing comment about how like, oh, in years to come, like he'll ask Harold, his now adopted father, like, why me? Or he'll keep challenging him in ways to make it so that he wants him to regret adopting him in a way, or to try to see how far he can go to make someone like not want him anymore, because he's just so used to that abandonment. So that I find fascinating. It's kind of like that oh gosh, the self-fulfilling prophecy, or like that mindset of like, you know, you're gonna fail, so why try? Or like it's getting good, and you're just nervous that it'll be true, so you what is the phrase? I don't know, you like tear it down, you dismiss it, oh my gosh, there's a term for this. I'm not doing a great job of saying what it is, but I think you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so that is that. I feel like I haven't been giving you any like life updates either. So last weekend we went to go see Cyrano in theaters. So that has Peter Dinklage, and it was actually like a musical adaptation, which was interesting, but set during the same time period as the original story or the play written by Edward Rostand, which I read, oh gosh, was that the end of last year, I think? And really enjoyed the play. Easy to read in a day for sure. And the musical itself was like beautiful set, costumes, all that kind of stuff. So we saw that. And then what else have I been doing? I've had a really busy work week this week. We have a virtual conference or training education sessions that we're putting on throughout the week, or we're hosting. So I've just been doing different tasks for that, and then also trying to get some of my other work done. I'm off on Friday, which is fantastic. My plan is to head to one of my favorite coffee shops, order some like tea or something else, since I'm still doing the Whole30 plan, and read a chunk of this. My goal is to finish this by Friday night /Saturday. So that is, what, 3-4 days from now? I really got to pick up the pace. So that is the plan there. And then, in terms of the plant-based Whole30, so I am on day 9, I think, and feeling pretty good. I had some like random cravings today, but because it happens sometimes when I'm like staring at a screen for so long and like feel like I have so many things to do that I like nervous or anxious eat. So I think that's where it came from. So I had some nice snacks around that were Whole30 compliant, like fruit, and then I had a smoothie. So I think I'm okay there. And yeah, this might be, I feel like the last few times I've tried it, it's been what I've been describing with Jude, but like on a very lower scale in terms of like severity. But like whenever I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing great, I'm halfway through, whatever, it's like, okay, like maybe I can sneak in some of these other things I shouldn't be having, and then it's just destroying the progress I made, and then I'm back to square one. So I'm hoping that isn't the case. I'm hoping I can stay disciplined, stay on track. I've been doing great with finding a lot of cool recipes. I think that's the thing. It can get very boring very easily, but I made this like really nice sheet pan roasted vegetables dinner last night with sweet potatoes, asparagus, broccoli, and red onion. Basically whatever was sitting in my fridge that was going to go bad soon. And it was delicious. I had some oil and salt and pepper on it, and that was it. And that was like the whole dish was a bowl of roasted veggies. So, and then I found this other dish. We went to my boyfriend's sister's husband, so I guess his brother-in-law's birthday, and it was at La Rosa's, which is like, I think it's just like a Cincinnati or Ohio kind of family chain. So they, not a lot, it's an Italian like pizza place, which I looked at the menu ahead of time. I'm like, oh God, what am I gonna, should I eat beforehand? What should I do? And they had these things called like crustless pizza bowls. So it's literally like everything you would put on a pizza, but in like a bowl, or like baked in a like a plastic or like glass bowl, without the crust. And it was actually pretty good. It had like Daya cheese, and then this like vegan pepperoni, and just sauce, green pepper, tomato. I think that's all I put in it, but it was really good. So I've got some ingredients to make that for myself tomorrow. So yeah, I think that's the key there, is finding recipes that are different, that like are still tasty, but still in the spirit of being Whole30, and cutting out a lot of those extra things we don't need, like bread. Even though I'm like, oh, I can't wait till I can have a Jimmy John's sandwich again, but I'm okay. I don't really need it right now. So yeah. Anyway, that is that. Let's see. I wanted to go for a run today, but I decided to go to Trader Joe's instead. So I did that. And then I watched This Is Us, caught up on that episode. I'm going to go get some reading done. Tomorrow, I don't think I mentioned, The Dropout on Hulu came out. And that is the story of Elizabeth Holmes. We finished Inventing Anna, I think, last week. I think I told you about that. But this is all about Theranos and the fraud experience, or the fraud company that had this like biotech kind of thing that didn't really work, and there was so many millions invested in it and all that kind of stuff. I almost said cool stuff. It's not. Definitely not. So that I'm finding fascinating, and I'm listening to a podcast about it. There's an audiobook I'm listening to it. And because the episodes come out once a week now. 3 came out last week, and now it'll just be once a week. So I'm trying to like stay up with like what's true, and then watching the adaptation. So that's been pretty fun. So that'll come out tomorrow. Mrs. Maisel comes out on Friday, another episode. There's only 2 episodes left of that in the season, which I'm like, I feel like nothing's really happened, but I guess they were saving it for these last 2 episodes. Who knows? Anyway, I think I'm going to call it there. It's getting kind of dark, so I gotta put the lights on. I need to clean up my dinner, which I had like this huge salad, which was delicious. And then, yeah, I don't want to get into bed yet because it's only like almost 7. Oh yeah, we've been watching a lot of Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune lately, and I'm like, so much nostalgia. I used to watch that all the time when I was younger with my family. Like that was what we watched either during or right before or right after dinner, and it was just a fun time, and just guessing and yelling things at the TV of what we think is the right answer and all that. So I love it. It's been fun to go back on that and see like how much I've learned, and like the categories I can get and the things I can guess. Wordle helps a lot with Wheel of Fortune, just as a heads up, or a little tip. Anyway, yes, thanks for checking in with me. I will check in again, hopefully when I've made some more progress, hopefully at the halfway mark, and then it'll just fly right by after that. Yeah, so I will talk to you later. Hello, welcome back to another edition of This Book is Destroying Me. So, where do I even begin? Yesterday, you saw some coverage of me reading at a coffee shop, one of my favorite coffee shops in Cincinnati, and I reached, or I should say, I'm at this point in the book, so about 140-ish pages to go. But I had reached a point, probably 250 pages before that, where I just had to stop in the coffee shop and like stop reading because I was getting not like physically emotional, like tears or anything like that. I don't think I cry during books at all, but I just had to take a break because of how much trauma was going on with Jude in the present, but also reliving days of his past and us finding out more about what was done to him. And it was very upsetting. I will not lie about that. I was talking to my friend Shantae, who's read this book before, and I think I was at a point where I'm like, okay, like it's probably gonna hit hard, or there's probably gonna be even more emotional trauma to come. And I told her that in movies and TV shows where things get very graphic and violent when it comes to sexual assault, domestic abuse, like any type of violence like that, I have to pause, leave, get out of the room, not watch it anymore. And that's exactly how I felt reading this. It was so descriptive, which I'm trying to think, like, there is a point to it that the author's trying to convey, that it is challenging, it is hard, it shouldn't be not necessarily ignored. I think you could go either way with it. I think some folks who've read this might see it as that went a little too far. You can still share that this person experienced this type of trauma without going into all those details, but knowing those details just makes it not sadder, but just like makes it more real. Not that you didn't believe it before that it was happening, but I think it just adds so much more dimension to the circumstances, the realities, why he is the way that he is. And yeah, so I considered at some point, I'm like, is this where I stop? I actually had to think about that. So I stopped reading it at the moment and then thought about, like, do I just DNF this? Because I think folks have done that in the past and I don't blame them for it. But yeah, that was pretty rough. And I'm like speechless. If you've read this before, you know probably what scenes, what parts of the story, his story. I guess now I can share, like, it's mostly Jude's story, and how the other characters are shared is kind of what they think of him or how they perceive him, what each of their actions result in that like affect him. So that I wasn't sure even like a third, halfway through the book, I'm like, are we gonna get other characters? And it's mostly Jude, and then a lot of Willem, which I'll explain later why that is so, and then JB, and then probably Malcolm's like the least involved, I'd say. So yeah, so basically we learn about his, I'm not gonna recount it here, but we learn about his past from like being abandoned as a child, or as a baby, a newborn, up until he turns 15 or 16, and everything that happens there, like one thing after the next, like he cannot what's the phrase? He cannot catch a break, honestly. And those 15 or 16 years, like, defines the rest, pretty much the rest of his life. At this point in the book, he's almost 50. And, like, a lot of that is still haunting him. And, like, still giving him the impression that he's not good enough, he's not worthy. He keeps trying to test people to show if they're going to stay or not, or be involved with him. He thinks he deserves some of the terrible things that are happening to him. And yeah, so he's not in a good place, and it's very evident. I feel very, I don't want to say connected, but like I feel not what he feels either. I feel like I can kind of understand him, but there's so many layers that even his close friends, his adopted parents, like, nobody's able to peel those back. It's taking a long time, understandably. So yeah, it's a lot, I will say. And I posted about this on Twitter too, saying like, I just need emotional breaks, and people were sending me like virtual hugs and saying that like, oh, I'm like so strong and so brave, and I'm like, no, I feel so invested in the story now. And I know there was this graphic, I was deleting photos off of my phone last night before bed because I'm just trying to make space on there. I was getting warnings that things were getting saved to the cloud, so I started going back through old pictures and deleting them or whatever. And I screenshotted this one graphic of a chart of different things you feel while reading this book, and one of them was how many times you cry, and it was like down here, and it like loops, gets higher, and then like goes up, gets higher. So I had been told that it's not necessarily like traumatic towards the end in terms of tears, but it's more like it's a different type of emotion, maybe beautiful, I don't know. And like I'm getting to the point of like, I wonder what that's going to be. So, okay, so other things besides knowing about his past and this terrible person he dates named Caleb. Oh my gosh. Wow. That was a lot too. But besides those traumatic events, other things that have happened are he starts dating Willem after a while. And this is after this abusive ex-boyfriend, and after a failed suicide attempt, and then he starts dating Willem. And that was beautiful to see their development, their understanding of each other, their relationship grow, their trust, the fears for both of them, honestly, because they've been such good friends. They've been best friends since college for a very long time. So that's been going on. A lot of confrontation with his cutting, with other types of self-harm he does, that like he's trying to lie to other people, not admit that he needs help, or again saying that he deserves this pain. And it's interesting how it's shared when he gets to a point where he needs to cut, or it's just too much for him. He keeps comparing it to like these hyenas that are like hunting him down, and like the only way to appease them is to harm himself. He like considered at one point throwing himself down the stairs, but decided not to do that. But then he burns himself on his arm, gets like 3rd-degree burns that are not like anywhere close to what people would think of as a accidental kitchen incident. It's like he was trying to pull it off like that, but I think a lot of people could see through that wasn't the case. What else has been happening? Right now, what's happened is his injuries of his legs, they keep, I don't understand what the actual disease or issue is. It had to do with the car incident, which was its own thing when he was younger, and that was the last time he remembers being able to run and like walk normally. And these like injuries keep like festering or like developing and opening up on his legs, which I still don't, like I said, I don't understand what it is that it keeps opening every time or like every once in a while, but they keep festering, they're getting infected, they're not healing correctly, all this kind of stuff. And they're at the point now where he has to get his legs amputated. So, which, even though those are, those have been causing him issues for so long, like that's why he cut JB out of his life for a while, because JB like made fun of him and reenacted or like acted like him with like his gait and his walk, and like it really offended Jude, so much so that he cut him out of his life for a while. So that's defined him for so many reasons, that defined his relationship with Caleb for so many reasons. And like, even though they've been terrible experiences because of his legs and not being able to use them the way he wants to, or there's so much pain there, he still wants to hold on to them because that's like who he is, or like the one thing that's his, or I don't know, it's like some part of like, this is still me in some kind of defining way. But his long-term friend / Dr. Andy, who I love him too, he's such a great character. He's been with him from almost the beginning, in terms of like when his trauma, post-trauma teen years, and then through where he's at right now. So a lot of his adult life he's been with this Dr. Andy, and he assured him that like, we'll get you prosthetics, we'll cut only below the knee so the disease doesn't spread. And the only reason he agrees to it is he sees how much it's taxing on Willem, who like he loves him. Like, they love each other, and he sees how much Willem not necessarily sacrifices, but it's just been a lot for him with everything that he's seen Jude do. Like, he's even witnessed him cutting himself. And then there's a very emotional scene where Willem grabs the razor out of Jude's hand and starts cutting himself, to show how much it hurts the other person to watch and to know that somebody's doing that to themselves. So that was a very powerful moment for sure. And then, yeah, so he sees Willem just being very distraught, I guess, and decides to go through with the surgery. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I have to get going soon. I'm heading to a friend's birthday dinner, and this is pretty good progress for today. It is Saturday. I know that was kind of abrupt transition right there, but I'll go back in a second. But I just wanted to say that's where I'm pausing. And yeah, I'm hoping that I can finish tomorrow. I kind of have to. If this video wants to go live on Monday the 14th, that would be great. But yeah, it's still been emotional even past those really tough parts. There's been some more tough parts. I don't want to say I'm getting used to it, but maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe it's a different type of pain that he's experiencing that, I don't know. But a lot of it happened when he was young, like a child young, and that's what's very upsetting and very hard to understand why that happens, why people would do such things. So, yeah. Oh, man. I told my friend, I'm like, I need to either not read for 2 weeks after this or read something happier. The other books I'm listening to, reading, whatever, I'm listening to Bad Blood, which is a nonfiction story of Elizabeth Holmes and her, like, fraudulent company Theranos, which I'm like watching the TV show, I'm listening to the podcast, like I'm invested in this. I don't know why, like it's weird. I was watching Inventing Anna. Not that I was rooting for Anna, but I think the show did such a good job of wanting us to be on her side. And then watching The Dropout, which is the Elizabeth Holmes story, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. Her and her partner Sunny, oh my god, I just want to smack them. They make me so angry. I was like audibly angry watching the last episode, or the latest episode, episode 4 on Hulu the other night. Anyway, so I'm reading that, and then I'm reading The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. So this is kind of thrillery. So that's a good, I guess, distraction kind of thing, because it's like on the edge of my seat kind of stuff. So that's good. And I'm like trying to guess. It's like a mystery, so that's good too. And then my print book after this will be Mr. and Mrs. Fitzwilliam Darcy. So that's part of my TBR jar for March. So that'll be good. Yeah. So far, I don't think I've ever read anything this, not necessarily depressing, but like emotionally taxing ever. Like I hate reading World War II Nazi Holocaust stories. It's a different type of pain and emotion. I get that. But even so, like this is definitely up there, probably at the top of emotionally draining. So yeah, not to say it's not bad. It's not bad. It's very profound reading or writing, very descriptive. I like I said, I'm invested in the story. I'm invested in the characters. Willem, I had said that in the beginning when I was talking to my friend Erin through our buddy read when we were still like very, very early on. And I said, like, I think it's going to focus mainly on Jude, but Willem's probably my favorite character. And that's still the case this far in. So anyway, that was a long update. I think it was needed since so much happened and I didn't know how to process it or digest it. I wasn't going to do it in the coffee shop, that's for sure. And I went for a run after I stopped at that point. I think it was around like page 450, 500, somewhere around there. And I'm on page 688. I'm going to try to get up to page 700 before I have to leave. And then after that, I think it's 840 pages total. Oh no, maybe less. Let's see. I don't want to ruin it. It is 814 pages total. Okay, so tomorrow will be 114, depending on when I get back tonight. I have no idea. We have like drinks at 5, dinner at 7, and then whatever afterwards. So, and then tomorrow, my friend and I are watching the Outlander episode 2 of season 6. And then I think I have to go for a run or go to the gym at some point. And then 114 pages-ish at that point. And then I'll be done. Then I'll be moving on. Or at least reflecting and trying to understand what the heck I just read. So, yeah. There's that. I will chat with you later. I knew it. Oh, I knew it. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I had a feeling. I should have recorded this thought and emotion and feeling way earlier in this vlog. Ugh. I knew it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me spill some knowledge here. So, Willem has died in a pretty bad car accident by a drunk truck driver. Not only is Willem dead, which that was what I predicted, not this other part too. Malcolm was in the car, and Malcolm's either girlfriend or fiance or wife was in the car, so all three of them dead. Which I'm like, oh boy, a car? A car? That's the way they go? Kind of full circle to Jude's predicament, but not? Oh, man. Ugh. So anyhow, that happened a little bit ago, but I was trying to knock some more pages out. So that much left. About 60 pages left. And now it's mainly just survival mode for Jude. Survival mode? Yeah, for Jude. And like what happens next. He just learned that Andy, his doctor, is going to be retiring in the next 3 years, so he'll have to find somebody else. But since he's gotten his amputation, he hasn't really needed many like medical appointments with Andy. He just does it for just consistency or just like a habit. And then he's also friends with Andy, so it's kind of a mixture of both. So trying to figure out what that means for him. So out of the quartet of the 4 friends, it's only him and JB left, which they're not really talking too much, but Jude is starting to get around to talking with him again. there was a really sweet moment where Jude is with Malcolm's parents, and they're like just going over like different memories, and he'd explained how Malcolm was always big into architecture and making things perfect, making space perfect for his friends, that he redid this bookshelf that was like jutting out because it wasn't aligned with the other ones. And Jude overheard him talking to Willem that if they didn't fix it, he would trip, or Jude would trip, and like he would hurt himself, because Malcolm was the first one to notice that he had a disability, and even before Willem did. And it was, I don't know, just a nice moment to see that Malcolm always had his back too. And Jude has this moment like after they're all dead, thinking that like out of the four, the two nicest of the group were the ones that were taken too early, and the two like troubled, not great people, meaning JB and Jude, were the ones left behind. So yeah, it's a little interesting, a little morbid. What time is it? It's 5 o'clock. Daylight savings, technically 4. I don't know which way. I don't know what the actual real time is. Is now the real time, or was 4 o'clock the real time after we sprung forward? I don't know which one's the real one. But anyway, it's now 5 o'clock today on daylight savings Eastern time. And I'm going to grab some dinner. I think we're having Chipotle. And then I have to go for my walk still, which might be when I do my wrap up for this, if I can finish these next 60 pages before it gets dark out. And then have a bath, edit this vlog. What else is on my list? Start my next book. And I think that's all I'll have time for, and maybe watch some TV. But yeah, I just had to give that update because I like should have recorded that I had that thought, that I knew it was going to happen. But anyway, there you go. I'll talk to you when it's over. It is done. I have finished. I am recovering now, like going for a walk. Well, I had to go for a walk anyway, but this is perfect timing because I needed it after that. So yes, there was some more upsetting events that happened towards the end of the book, including Jude's completion of suicide through a very painful route. He decided to give himself a stroke, which his doctor Andy had said was way more painful, involved stabbing himself twice with needles or something. I don't know the exact procedure of it or mechanics of it, but that is what he decided to do after, like, there was discussion too of like, could they have prevented it? What was the turning point? All that. It was 3 years after Willem had died. So still resulting of that. And then Andy's practice that he was giving up. What else was going on? Jude was also offered an opportunity to be a chair for the firm that he's a part of, and then he was talking to Harold outside his very first apartment out of law school, I believe, and was saying like, yeah, like maybe I'll go travel. And Harold was like, oh, might as well just give it a chance, because he thought him staying at the firm would mean he wouldn't kill himself, because he'd have something to work towards, because he always had that to go back to. Like they kind of knew it was gonna come. And then Harold finally found the letter that was written to him on the adoption day that Jude had hid in one of the books on the shelf, and him and Julia like cried and like remembered all these things. And then most of the perspective of Harold in the story is, oops, sorry, there's some backlighting there from the sunset, was him talking to Willem, or Willem's painting by JB. So JB ended up being the only of the four surviving. And then we learned Andy died 3 years after Jude from a heart attack. Their friend Richard, who, like the building that they lived in, he died, I think 2 years later, of brain cancer. So there was like a lot more deaths even after Jude. So yeah, it was very interesting. It was like a quick wrap up, but like all led to that. I'm gonna turn around here and head back to the apartment. Hold on. Okay. So what else? I thought a lot about how like mental health, not that it's like construed as something that a certain age can experience, but he was 53, I think, when he took his life, or even leading up to that, like 30s, 40s, 50s, he was struggling and with depression and mental health and suicide attempts and cutting and all of that. So that just was, I guess, an interesting thing to think about of, like, there's no age, there's no gender that it's specified for. Like, I know there are a lot more attempts, I feel, like teenage years, or at least that's what I hear most of. But it was interesting to hear of, even as like full-on adults, like things that just haunt us and are really emotional and taxing, can still stick with us and cause us to not be well mentally, or just wanting to escape it all. So anyway, I'm trying to think, still processing this, of course. In general, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The writing was amazing and very profound, very detailed, like I had said before. A lot of symbolism, a lot of full circle moments, foreshadowing, a lot of great elements being portrayed there that I think she did a great job with. Oh boy. Yeah, I think I have another book lined up. I want to go take a bath in a little bit, that I was going to read while I was in the bath. We'll see if I still do that. I might just need to sit in the water and just be and just sit for a little bit and soak. But yeah, that was a lot. It was very complex, very emotional, very thought-provoking. Glad I experienced it. I don't know if I will reread it anytime soon, maybe ever again, but I definitely will hold on to it, since I think I've gotten a lot out of the experience for sure, as I think this video is almost at an hour. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that and continue pondering. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. It was a journey for sure, but if you have read it, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't read it yet, hope you do, or however that looks for you, comfort-wise, or if you are able to complete it. If not, like, totally understandable, because it is a lot and very challenging. So yeah, whatever your experience is with it, I'd love to hear it. So let me know. Thanks again so much for watching this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, feel free to subscribe, hit the notification bell to know when I post next, and I'll see you in my next video and on social media. So have a great day and happy reading.